So I was on this podcast recently. They asked me this question. If you were sitting down with your children 20 years from now, which means Taylor's 27 years old. What? Riker's 25 and Caden is 21 and a half. What would you want to tell them? Like, what would you want to ensure happened? And it's such an interesting question because there's a part of me that can't even conceptualize the fact that they're like fully independent at that point, even though that's what our responsibility is as parents, is to build independent children that can completely and utterly fend for themselves, that want us versus need us. But what I want them to have seen over the past 2 decades with regards to me is a model of what's possible. The single greatest way that anyone learns anything is they model the behaviors of those around him, for better or for worse. So if they see a bad model, there's a chance that they'll actually repel and do the exact opposite, because that's just not what aligns with them. Their intuition says something's off. If they see a great model, there's a great possibility that they say, that's who I want to be when I grow up. And I was thinking about this after the podcast, which is, and this is going to sound a little arrogant, but it's not meant to be. I feel so fortunate that my kids have me as a male model, because I have zero with my wife, zero like gender roles in our home. I mean, I'm wiping tushies, I'm tipping them in the baths, I'm reading them their books, I'm immersing in their playtime, I'm playing sports with them, I'm disciplining them, I'm just in it to win it with them. There's no, this is what my wife does, this is what I do. And I'm just calling all men out there, just realize how incredibly important it is for you to be a model of a man. Whether you have a son or a daughter, it matters. Because if you have a son, well then guess what? There's going to be more great men that exist because they're modeling the behavior of their father, their hero. And if you have a daughter, there's a significantly greater chance that your daughter is going to marry a man like you. The question though is, do you want them to model you? The person that shows up every day as their father, is that ultimately what you want your son to become or your daughter to marry? This is what I ask myself every day. When I show up, am I showing up as the absolute best version of me? Am I leaving it all on the field? Am I ensuring that if today was the last day that they were able to extract what they can learn from me, which eventually will become part of who they are, is this what I want them to take with them? Is this the memory that I want them to hold on to? Is this the baseline that they're going to establish in life? So if I had 20 years from now talking with my kids, what I would want to ensure happen is that for every day of those 20 years, they saw someone that showed up, that gave it their all. They took 100% responsibility to ensure that all aspects of life were taken care of with regards to pride and commitment and to integrity. That I lived a life of and versus or, where we kept on adding as long as it was getting us closer to our outcome. I want them to realize that the only boundaries of possibility are the boundaries that they establish for themselves. I want them to see that you can have it all. It's completely possible when you commit to it. You don't have to pick and choose between your career and your marriage and your health and your relationship with your children. You can have it all. We talk about this all the time. As much in my career as I care about buying, scaling, and exiting software companies, which I do, what I care significantly more about is who each person becomes in the process. From our team, to our co-founders when there are co-founders, to our strategic alliances, to our shareholders, to the people that are involved in cities that we're supporting and supporting us, who they become in the process. Because when there's a big win, if their spouse can't stand them, their kids don't know them, and they have an autoimmune disease because they just grinded it too hard, we completely failed them. So 20 years from now, I want our kids to realize that having it all is what's expected. It's a baseline. It's what they should be striving for. It's not easy, but it's worth it. I take immense responsibility in my responsibility of being a father. I take immense ownership in this. And I encourage you, if you're a parent, to ask yourself that question. 20 years from now, you're sitting down with your kiddo. What do you want them to have seen over the past 2 decades? How did you show up? This is not a message to make you feel less of who you are. It's a calling to have you rise up, step up, and realize the single greatest way that anyone learns anything is through modeling. Either modeling what they see because they appreciate it and cherishing it, or avoiding it completely because it doesn't align with who they want to become. Be the model that you'd want your children to be 20 years from today and start right now.